So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where Turkey invades Syria. Now, as we all know, Turkey is a semi-hostile country. I mean, it has its moments where it's just like, why did you do that? And it has its moments where it's like, okay, they're just chilling. But today we're taking a look at a scenario where they decide to invade Syria. Now, if you don't know, Turkey and Syria hold like kind of really hostile relations, not to the point where they're at full-scale war, but Turkey does do some things in northern Syria, which could be seen as an act of war. And overall, other Middle Eastern countries like Iran and Lebanon, Armenia, they're going to go ahead and just throw the support behind Syria because obviously Turkey is the aggressor here, while other Western countries like the US, Europe, they're just going to kind of look away. Turkey is that one kind of strain NATO country, which is like, they're in NATO, but they probably shouldn't be. And that's for a multitude of reasons. First of all, they kind of have a semi-dictator. And then second of all, of course, those attacks on Syria and Iraq. So overall, this war will be instigated by Turkey since it's already kind of happening in real life. But today we're going to go ahead and see it go to full-scale war. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are once again pushing for 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. It isn't looking too likely, but that's okay. We're going to keep pushing there. So if you are not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe, get some family members, friends to subscribe. If we can't get to 100K by the end of this year, no big problem, but let's at least try to get to 90K. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this video. All right, so we have Turkey invading Syria. Now, of course, this is already kind of happening, like I said, but not to the full extent to where I would consider a full-scale war, like how Russia is invading Ukraine. So Turkey goes ahead and does this, and they start to send troops further into Syria, lining the entire border and pushing down. Now, of course, Syria is in a civil war right now, and it's been in a civil war since 2014, so nothing new here. However, Turkey is going to have to fight off different rebellious groups, and it's going to be interesting. But the most prominent thing happening right now is Syria is not alone. They're going to get the aid of Iran here. Now, Iran is a protector of Syria. They are in the axis of resistance with them, and overall, Iran is a big supplier to Syria itself. Another country which has similar relations with Syria is Lebanon. Lebanon is kind of split right now between Eastern and Western. They have a Western government, or a Western, I guess, supportive government, and an Eastern supportive government. One is like, yay, USA, the other one's like, yay, Iran. So it's kind of split. Basically, it's like India with the US and Russia, but a lot more radical. But now Turkey is going to have a little bit more of a challenge pushing into Syria. Of course, they're going to go ahead and probably wipe out the country of Syria and maybe even Lebanon, but they are going to have some problems on their little border over here with Iran. So for now, they are going to focus on pushing down into Syria, this time going after the coast in order to push down to Lebanon. They do so successfully and finally make a good gain in Lebanon, almost wiping out the country. As for Iran, they haven't really made a move, and this is kind of alarming towards Turkey because, like, okay, they're not invading us, what are they going to do? And then it hits them. Quite literally. Iraq joins this war on the side of the blue team. With this, Iranian troops, which are already stationed in northern Iraq, start to flood into southern Turkey. The Turkish armed forces were not ready for this as they had already set up a defensive up north here, so they're gonna kind of have to go in behind those Turkish forces, and it is here that we see a big encirclement. Maybe a little bit unrealistic, but that's okay. These Turkish forces are forced to go north. They then go into Iranian territory and escape into the exclave of Azerbaijan. From here, we see those Iranian troops chase those Turkish troops, and this overall is an act of war against Azerbaijan. Now, as soon as they join this war, it's going to turn the tables a little bit for the blue team. They do still have a tidal wave of troops pushing through the Syrian desert. However, a new front has opened up with Azerbaijan, who was maybe already gearing up to join this war. Azerbaijani troops and Turkish troops push down from this area of Azerbaijan, and from here they start to go over and focus on the coast. Now, they are pretty much stopped after doing this because, I mean, Tehran is right in this area-ish. And, you know, they're kind of close to it. I mean, not close enough to where it's panic mode, but close enough to where you're going to want to stop them. And following this is a little bit of reorganization on Iran's end. They pull some troops out of here from northern Turkey, which allows Turkey to push in and take over that land again. From here, they go on offense and manage to link up with the exclave of Azerbaijan, but ultimately, this is not enough for them. So they go ahead and declare war on Armenia. Now, Armenia is in a very interesting scenario in real life right now. If this video would have been released like 6 months ago, I would have had Russia joining in on the blue team. However, it's a little bit different because of Armenia's current political situation. So as you guys know, or hopefully know, as of recently, within like maybe a month or two ago, Azerbaijan attacked Armenia, and the ceasefire, which was signed I think in 2020, has been broken. Of course, Armenia is a good ally of Russia and a member of the CSTO, and they called on the CSTO to help them out, and there was no response. From here, the Armenian government started to sway away from Russia and a little bit more towards the West, although they aren't really a Western country. The former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she did visit Armenia, and she was welcomed in with open arms. It was a very warm welcoming, but that does bring me to the main point. Armenia is now a neutral country, which means them getting invaded is going to suck because no one is going to help them out. I mean, of course, other than Iran, Iraq, and Syria, but they're not going to mainly focus on Armenia because a lot of the fighting is going to be happening over here in Syria and northern Iraq. So unfortunately for Armenia, they are a very mountainous country, which means they do have a geographical advantage, but it's just not going to be enough. Azerbaijan immediately takes over the land that is separating them from their exclave, and from here, Armenia is set into guerrilla warfare, fighting in the mountainous area of the country. Back over to the Syrian frontline, we have Turkey completely wiping out Lebanon. From here, they make a push over and manage to capture Syria's capital, which inevitably makes the southern half of Syria fall. Now, Syrian troops are in a pretty drastic retreat as the Iranian and Iraqi troops rush in to help them out. We now see those same troops pushing up into southern Turkey in order to make a greater frontline. Basically, what the blue team is trying to do here is to consolidate their frontline to just one ginormous front, which it already kind of was, but this time it's a little bit more organized and well-rounded. Literally. Let's go ahead and take a look at the war plans for each side. So Turkey's current ambitions are to pretty much take out the remainder of Syria, regain their land in southern Turkey, and take a good portion of northern Iraq, as well as a little bit of the west over here. From here, they're going to want to push a little bit into Iran, take over all of Armenia, and then it is there that they will sue for peace. Well, not literally sue for peace, but they are going to ask for a peace treaty, and that's where they're most likely going to get it. As for the blue team, they have a pretty simple goal, and it's kind of a crazy goal, but they want to push all the way up into Turkey and meet up with the Black Sea. This will effectively cut off Turkey from Azerbaijan, and basically it just lets them take over all of this land, not scot-free, but like it's pretty likely that they'll take it. From here, they might even sue for peace, as that's a pretty impressive gain. However, they might want to push over towards Lebanon and connect over with the Mediterranean Sea, cut off some Turkish troops down here, take over that land, and it is here that they'll probably want to get a peace treaty, and they'll most likely get it. So both sides have pretty ambitious war goals, and both sides are going to do a lot to try to get there, but ultimately there is always going to be one side that comes out on top. Right now, it's not looking too good for Turkey as they're fighting up against 3 countries. Maybe someone might join soon who's going to tip the scale of the war. As for now, Armenia's guerrilla warfare fighting is coming to a halt as the troops are finally engulfed, and eventually after months of fighting, they are forced to surrender. As for Iran though, they do manage to push back the Azerbaijanis on their northern border, but that's about all they get. Back with the Turkey, they're going to go ahead and try to spearhead up to the Black Sea. Not really a spearhead, but like a slow progression of one, so front line is going to start to go like this, and eventually it might poke out a little bit. So that is their ultimate goal, and that's kind of what we see here, although this is a little bit dangerous because Turkey can just go ahead, find a weak spot, and just do that. So they're going to hold off for now, not go all the way, although they probably could if they wanted to. But this big push did kind of weaken them in the south as Turkish forces find a hole and manage to punch in through the Iranian front line. From here, they scramble to defend themselves as the Turkish push into Iraq and wipe out any remaining armies in southern Syria. From here, Turkey makes a pretty dumb move. They decide to halt their more valuable advance and go for a southern advance into the Iraqi panhandle. This is kind of a panhandle, I guess, but they're going to stop their main advance and push down here. Why was that stupid? Because Iran is a little bit more of a smart war strategist. They're going to pull some troops from northern Turkey, which they have no problem doing, and use these troops to punch right into the Turkish front line and pretty much cut off these Turkish troops. What seems like a really good encirclement, though it's about to happen, is basically that's what's going to happen. Turkish troops are immediately stopped on the spearhead and are pushed back. These guys push up in an attempt to maybe save these Turkish guys, but ultimately their weak retreat in the south and their weak defense in the north is not going to be enough as the blue team punches through and encircles a hell of a load Turkish troops. Now Turkey is going to want this back because these are full of some elite forces, so they're going to attempt to get them back, but it's going to take a while. And like I said, these are some pretty elite forces, and like I said, they are going to go pretty wild. So they're going to push down south and capture Baghdad. Now of course this is going to cost them a lot of equipment and man, so their little bubble does shrink. However, they hold on to the major city. Now is this actually where Baghdad is? Probably not. I think it's like somewhere in there. there, those white dots areas. But they hold on to Baghdad, and Turkey's just like, okay, you did that, but now we're not going to be able to save you. And they basically just say whatever, and they're going to hold out for a little bit. As for Turkey itself, it is no longer focused on rescuing these troops, and instead they're going to focus on pushing out the Iraqis and the Iranians. They do so pretty well and manage to meet the northern Iraq border. However, they are going to lose a little bit of ground in Syria because that's just how war goes. They are pushed back almost completely to Lebanon. So as you can see, this war so far is pretty much a fight between Iran and Turkey, with Iraq and Syria being the battlegrounds. The blue team has 4 members and the red team has 2. Actually, no, the blue team has 5 members. So you would think they had the advantage. However, if we look at the blue team's members, Iran, the strongest country there, Iraq, I mean, they're a little bit stable, but ultimately not the stable. Second strongest country there, Syria, Lebanon, Armenia. So those last 3, they're not going to really contribute that much. But now it's time for someone to get involved who should already have probably been involved, and that special somebody is going to be the good old country of Israel. The entire Middle East is disgusted because Israel exists, and now they've just gone ahead and played themselves into a war against Iran. Who would have saw that coming? Unfortunately enough for Israel, they don't really have any more prominent enemies which are going to join this war against them. And that really doesn't sway any countries to join in on the blue side. The Turkish army in Syria is severely being beaten back by the Iranians as they now reach the Mediterranean coast. However, conveniently enough, Israel had just joined the war, and they are now sending their armies up north to push back these Iranians. Palestine decides it's a good time to join the war, only to be met with a lot of Israelis. So ultimately, not a good move. Maybe they are already gearing up to do that, nobody knows. But nonetheless, Israel knocked out Palestine, and that's really not going to slow them down at all. From here, we once again see the Syrian front switch momentum as the red team pushes even further, and it is now bordering the Iraq border once again. We have a pretty big withdrawal of Iranian troops over here in Turkey as they are forced to retreat out of Turkey and Syria, and it is finally at this point where Syria is completely annexed by the red team. Now Iran is going to have to make a plan here as their hopes of pushing up to the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea are pretty much gone. Technically, they did reach the Mediterranean, however, it wasn't enough to hold on to as Israel joined the war, and plus they also weren't doing much progress against the Black Sea campaign, so that dream is kind of dead. Let's go ahead and take a look at updated war plans. So the red team is pretty much on the verge of winning this war. All they really have to do now is maybe capitulate northern Iraq, push out the remaining Iranians, maybe do a little bit of damage in northern Iran, and then other than that, they've pretty much won the war. So not much they have to do here. As for Iran, they're going to want to do something a little bit different here. They're going to want to have to build a defensive wall over here against the Iraqi border. But what they're also going to try to do is maybe keep this little area of Turkey, defend all the way up to the northernmost point, and then invade all of Azerbaijan and Armenia. A little bit ambitious there, but it could possibly work, and they might even be able to use the Armenian mountains to set up an even better defensive front. And if they manage to do something that looks like this and hold off on all of these borders, they could possibly get out of this war pretty much free. They might have to pay war reparations. Of course, they're going to lose all of Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine. But other than that, them and Iraq are probably fine. They'll probably just give up any Azerbaijani land that they want in order just to keep themselves safe. And that's a pretty realistic scenario for Iran and Iraq. So let's go ahead and see how the final moments of this war play out. First of all, this little group that's been holding on to Baghdad, they are finally gone. They've been wiped out. However, many believe that they might have just escaped into Syria. Nobody really knows because it's a very elite force, very secretive, and very well at secret operations. The Iranians are successful in building a very strong and thick defensive wall along the Iraqi border and up into Turkey. However, in the north, that's where they lack, as the Turks have a little bit of a different plan. They go against their previous war plan, which was to invade northern Iraq, and decide to maybe just invade northern Iran instead. Like I said earlier, Tehran is right there, and if they can maybe even threat the city and get this close, that might be enough to scare Iran out of the war. So that's what they're going to focus on. They make stunning progress into northern Iran, considering the horrible geography here. Many mountains, but we're going to ignore those. That's right, we've been ignoring geography since 2021. The Iranians pull troops out of southern Turkey, pretty much spelling out their defeat in this war. From here, Turkish troops push into Iran and even into northern Iraq. Iraq sinks into the bottom of the ocean, and Iran agrees to a peace deal. So let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. Alright, taking a look at this peace treaty here, it probably isn't as great as you guys thought it would be. And I don't mean great as in it's bad. I mean great as in like there wasn't that many changes. Starting off with Turkey, of course, they annexed almost all of Syria. However, Israel does get a little bit of land, and speaking of Israel, they managed to get themselves all of Palestine and all of Lebanon. Heading on over to Iraq, they lose a little bit of the north here, not much, like maybe that much, and they are given a new Turkish government, which Iran kind of disagrees with in the peace terms, but ultimately they do have to come to the compromise, as Iran itself doesn't lose anything that great to this war. They lose a little bit of their northern tip, and I mean like a little bit. It used to look something like this. That isn't that much land, and valuable land at that. So they are pretty good in this war. They don't have to pay any money or anything. They're just going to have to deal with their own economic situation. But Iran is pretty good in this war. They got out pretty well. As for the Caucasus, though, we have Azerbaijan managing to connect with their exclave, finally ending the deal over this big chunk of disputed land. They also get a border with Turkey, which will make them happy. And that's going to do it for this video where Turkey invades Syria. So if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are once again aiming for 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. We're about 1/3 of the way there through this month. We have around 15,000 more to go, 14,700 if you want to be more exact. Those odds are slim, but I'm leaving it up to you guys. I have faith in you guys, and I believe we can do this. Once again, if you aren't subscribed, I can't stress it enough, make sure to subscribe. If this is your first video and you'll never watch one of my videos again, subscribe, turn off notifications. I don't care. That's good enough. If you watch this far and you're not subscribed, then I got you. That's right. You're in a trap. You just spent like what, 14 minutes watching this video and you're not subscribed, but you watched the whole video, so I got you right where I want you. Final step is for you to hit that nice little red button down there. And if you already are subscribed for the 5th time in the past, what, like 2-3 weeks, just get your family members and friends to subscribe. Literally no harm in doing it. Get your like 80-year-old grandma to subscribe. That's right, she's gonna learn a little bit more geography, even though she served in World War II as a nurse, but hey, she can learn something new. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like it, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment with your input, let me know what you want to see next, share this video because we want to get to 100K, and yeah, so thank you guys for all the support so far, and I'll see you guys in the next one.